Welcome into Best Ball and Brews on dfsarmy's YouTube channel. Of course, I got the man here with me who really needs no introduction with DFS Army, Bobby Wow, two-time Millie Maker winner. I'm going to give him an introduction anyway. How are we doing?
Oh, I'm good, man. I'm excited. This is great. We're within that 10 Sunday mark, I think. We just passed that, like 10 Sundays until football. We're going to be in single digits soon. It's finally like around the corner. I convinced myself that it's close. Like once we hit 100 days,
Sure.
It's really not. I'm just lying to myself. But now we're actually getting kind of close. So I'm feeling good. Yeah. How are you?
I'm good, man. I'm with you. Whenever it's July, I'm like, okay, July's the start of training camp, and that's football season to me. Like, that's all I need. You know,
exactly.
You get the training camp reports, hopefully no injuries just for your team anyway, or people you're drafting in best ball, the big names that we want to play. And then, we just have those reports and, then we're rolling with it right into preseason and right into week 1.
Yes, sir. Yeah. The injuries, man, that's always the scariest part about the off season and the preseason. So fingers crossed here.
Yes, sir. All right. We got Tattoo. We got Darth. Darth's been doing some of these weekly winners.
Man, it's crazy. The DFS Army guys, I feel like, because Fantasy Football Geek Kevin has been doing some shows as well.
Yeah.
And it's so sharp. The DFS guys are so sharp. DFSA, it's like, oh boy, here we go. Getting a draft and I look like a clown with them.
Yeah, well, I know you'll be locked in, by week 1 as you normally are. I'm excited because I could be mistaken, but I think this is the first time we've done any kind of stream together, Bobby. So
yes, I'm pumped, man. It's awesome because we kind of interact. You're a big Broncos fan, right?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So we can share commiserate a little bit and share our team's issues. We can understand where we're coming from. But yeah, this is great. First show together. Man, this might win someone $1 million right here. So let's make it happen.
No doubt. So, dude, he just like, I think he retired to pursue a rap career that went terrible. And I think it's a bad move. I could end up being wrong on that take, but I think for the Dolphins, you probably should have had a better option than Darren Waller. But that's just me. What do you think, Bobby?
It's a bad move across the board to me. Like, because you got Waller coming in, who really has been completely underperformed, to put it nicely, his whole career. Yeah. Obviously, retired last season. That doesn't help. But even for Jonnu Smith, now he's going into Pittsburgh, where I don't know. I feel like his ceiling in Miami was so much higher than it will be in Pitt. Look, I get Rodgers there, but that never amounted to anything for the Jets tight ends. Plus, Patty Fry's still there too, right?
Yeah, and I'm kind of bummed about that because I've been drafting Pat Freiermuth, hoping that Rodgers was going to be throwing to him a lot as a secondary option, and and that kind of went out the window. So Pat bags are not looking good right now.
Not great.
No, not great, Bob. That's sad, Tattoo. I wish you could, man. But we're about to jump in here. Cake, man. Okay. All right. Maybe. Hopefully he falls. A lot. But one of the reasons that I brought Bobby on is obviously has such a contrarian mind, and really, as a two-time Millie Maker winner, this is the perfect kind of contest for you, best ball wise, because it's a best ball contest in the fact that it's a draft and it's season long, but it's really a DFS contest. So every single week it pays out for the top score. So first place, for those who haven't maybe done the weekly winners, this is what we're going to draft here in a second. But first place pays $20K. So, that's essentially what you're going for. You're going for that ceiling performance from your lineup. So, we're kind of throwing out, the median scoring, unlike the, eliminators that Geek's been attacking. And I love those too, by the way, because that's, really like a cash game strategy style contest. This is the opposite. This is really kind of trying to win the Millie Maker. You're trying to beat out 186,000 others for that top prize of 20,000. So, Bobby, as we get into this, I'm curious on some of your takes. Have you done any of the weekly winners yet?
I have. Now, it's my first season doing them, so I haven't had any experience like in previous seasons in terms of how well I've placed or anything. But I have been drafting a couple of these, kind of alongside Geek over the last month or two. And
Yeah.
man, I'm finding myself that I really like it. And it's weird because it's not like massively different, than I would draft, say, like just a normal underdog contest or like a DraftKings best ball millie maker or whatever. But there are some intricacies that are kind of interesting to pursue. One of which leaning into stacking really heavily. I think maybe more so than any other contest, this favors stacking. But I've been jumping into several, and I'm actually really curious to kind of get a deeper look into your strategy here too.
Definitely. Yeah. We'll get into, my general strategy on this. I did write an article. You guys could find this on, over on dfsarmy.com. But this is basically, I just looked at the past 2 years because this is a new contest. It's just the past 2 years of this contest and went through some of the winning trends. But to your point, Bobby, I think essentially that's one of the biggest takeaways is it's just a lot of correlation as it is in DFS, right? So
right.
Trying to win like the millie maker. So, but yeah, Eddie, we're gonna do a weekly winners draft, and we're gonna try to correlate for sure. And and just think about ceiling performances. So is everyone ready? 20-second clock. We're going to go 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Now, last time, no one was able to get in. So this one, we're waiting for 9 people. So
let's go. Okay, this will be better.
It should go. Pretty good.
I was tuned in. I think, to that show. It was like crazy, man. Sometimes you got to wait almost for these contests to fill, but that was right away.
Yeah, I know. It sucked too because it was literally back to back where we did 2 drafts and no one could get in. Because I clicked the button and it's like waiting, and I'm like, oh, I was the last person in. But one of the things I'm glad about having you on as well, Bobby, is I've been wanting to get more Bears stacks. So I think we maybe need to do a Caleb build here if
got the right guy. Yeah, got the right guy on for that.
Yeah, if it lines up. I've been getting I have a lot of Luther Burden. I have an unhealthy amount of Luther Burden. I know obviously, the Bears, they went after Loveland and Burden in the draft. So they really upgraded, I think, the overall offense. And obviously Ben Johnson coming over, that's huge. But what do you think about Luther Burden? He's got the soft tissue thing. You think he's going to be ready to go for camp?
Yes, I do. And here's the thing about Luther Burden. I don't think there is a better fantasy format than weekly winners to draft a guy like him, because he's to me, he's bottomed out in terms of ADP, right? Because everyone's worried about the soft tissue. He's a rookie, hadn't signed a contract. And so I think, all the normal concerns plus the injury concern, plus WR3 in Chicago, like I think that's kind of contributed to him falling as low as I think he's going to get. So he is a quintessential high risk, but really high upside pick, especially in a contest like this one.
Yeah, I like it. So I've been getting a lot of him, but I'm hoping to get a little more like Caleb builds because it's just been, him as a one-off as kind of a spike week guy, but I would like to get more Caleb because I just think this is the bounce back here for Caleb. I was in on him last year, and it's kind of like in DFS, right? Like just because something doesn't work last year or the prior slate, which is in best ball, right? Like every year's a new slate, like doesn't mean go away from it. It means kind of stick with it until it hits. Yeah.
And I mean, we've seen what Ben Johnson's done with Jared Goff, right? And we've seen those explosive weeks. Not that that's all Ben Johnson's doing, but I think him being in Chicago helps Caleb even more. Are we on the clock here?
Yeah, I think we got to go Chase at 3.
Absolutely. Yeah. Smash Chase.
Absolutely. All right. This is a good start. So we got a lot of guys in here with us. If you're in here and I don't recognize your name, let us know. I know we got Raymond here, Razor 33. We got Drago. We got Soups.
Yes, let's
go. Gosh, we got Darth here too. So
let's go.
Yeah, we got full room.
This is fantastic. One thing I did want to ask you about up front.
Yeah.
Because I've seen kind of polar opposites and extremes to this strategy here is, where do you value running backs? Because it feels like, half point PPR running backs are still king, in this type of format to me. But then I hear so much about people like going, no running back strategy until late in the draft. And I don't know. I'm kind of back and forth. Are you as high on running backs? As like what might be standard for a FanDuel or Underdog half point PPR, or where are you at on that?
It's a great question, and that's one of the things I found out. Looking at this contest specifically, like in traditional best ball, I will actually do like a healthy amount of 0 RB builds, but in this contest specifically, like when I looked at it, like the past couple of years, it was overwhelming. Like you had to get like a running back in the first 5 picks that has a high ceiling.
Like a Saquon almost.
Yeah.
Saquon, McCaffrey, previous seasons.
Yeah, exactly. You have to like almost go anchor, hero RB strategy. In fact, I found like 94% of the teams last year drafted at least one running back in the first 5 picks. So, which is, like 0 RB is like, 5, 6 rounds, 5, 6, 7, you're getting your first, running back. So that wasn't very successful in this contest, really over 2 years.
That's a big time stat. That's crazy. I did not know it was that extreme. Okay.
Yeah. So it's real extreme. And, I was kind of thinking about it. I'm like, it makes sense because to really win 1 week, you need like guys that have like a massive ceiling, right? Like a Barkley or Christian McCaffrey or Derrick Henry, guys who could go for like 30 points plus, even 40. And you're just not going to find that more times than not with, some of these 0 RB options. But yeah, looks like we're about to be on the clock here again. We could try to get the Higgins stack, maybe set up for a double with Burrow, or we can go Chase Brown here. What do you think?
Let's go Chase. Let's go Chase. I like Chase.
I like that. So we get our kind of anchor running back that we need. And then we'll see. Maybe we can stack with Burrow. Maybe not.
I'd love to get Joey B. Yeah, I don't know. Like Chase Brown is. I rarely like drafting quarterbacks with running backs, even in like obvious, pass catching running back situations. But I love the Bengals offense. I think this season, last season was so disappointing. Especially early on, but really, I mean, just disappointing in general for the Bengals. For the Bengals as a team. I think this season that offense explodes. Joey B takes things even to another level. So I love Chase Brown. I love Jamar Chase, and obviously, T. Higgins too, a stud.
Yeah, I totally agree. And I just think the defense is going to be bad again. All right, so
which almost kind of helps the offense. You can make the argument in the sense that they're always chasing from behind.
Yeah. Do we go Tyreek Hill here?
Oh man,
boost. All right, we got to
do it.
Just because.
Go with your gut. Tyreek. Ugh.
There we go. Right. So
we need Tua to stay healthy, man.
I know. Also, I was looking at my exposures earlier because I've done about 30 of these weekly winners drafts so far. And once I get a healthy amount, I like to look at my exposures and adjust. I only have 3% Tyreek, and especially with the news of the day, or yesterday, Jonnu getting traded. I'm like, I think that boosts things for, Tyreek, for Waddle, for Achon, all those guys. So I think it's time to get a little bit more Tyreek Hill.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's a good point too. I do think that boosts him a little bit. He's a guy, right? Again, kind of extremely high upside. We just didn't see it last season. So I like the risk.
Yeah. Yeah, it's funny. Go Bengals, and then puke. I'm guessing Tattoo said to go Bengals. So here's the thing. I just think that Cincinnati, they've basically done nothing to address their defense, which was a problem last year. So to your point, Bobby, I feel like they're going to be in a lot of shootouts this year, and I'm trying in a lot of drafts to just get pieces. Maybe I just get Chase. Maybe I just get Brown. Maybe I just get Higgins. Gesicki I've been getting.
Gesicki he's extremely, but another guy that I think is going way too late. So I agree.
Okay. Puke to Tyreek. Yeah. It's one of those things. Tattoo.
Kevin hates him. So that's part of the problem.
So I don't love Tyreek, which is why I only have 3, but I'm like, I need maybe to have 7 to 10%. Like it needs to be double what I have now. Right. Just because he's a guy that if Tyreek he had a wrist issue last year, plus Tua was hurt for part of the year. If he gets healthy, he could have a lot of big games. Who knows?
Absolutely. Yeah. We can take risks on super high upside guys like that. I think I like it. That's a good strategy in a contest like this.
Yeah. So who do you have like any like leans so far on like teams that besides like the Bengals and the Bears, like, are there any like player takes or like team takes that you're like leaning towards right now, at least, as we sit on July 1st?
Man, I really love the Bears and what they've done, beyond just the bias. I think that offense is stacked. We talk about Caleb a lot. People talk about DJ Moore. I think he's going to have a massive season. But I think the guy that gets forgotten about is DeAndre Swift. He's a guy that I'm finding myself, if I don't get to Caleb in the draft, I find myself with a lot of Swift. Just because, I think in a Ben Johnson style offense with the pieces that we have around him, not to mention the offensive line, fully bulked up, upgraded. All signs point to him having a breakout season. So I'm excited about him.
I like that. I've been forcing myself to draft Swift just because he just seems undervalued. If we think the offense is going to take the step that it's going to take, and Joe Burrow, you just had to do that to me. You took all those running backs and then you took a wide receiver.
I don't mind taking Jalen here. Yeah,
let's do it.
Let's take Hurts.
Oh, got him. Thank God. So what I like about that, Bobby, is a lot of people are going to try to obviously get the Burrow to stack, and if you can't get it, great, and you could just think about getting different elsewhere. But I like the way we can get different with just Hurts. And,
yes, absolutely.
I drafted a team earlier actually that had a Burrow and Chase, or a Higgins and Chase double. Let's think about our next pick here. We can get to back to that.
Yep. Are we up the clock here? No. Okay.
Do we go with Devonta Smith? Just stack him right up. What do you think?
Yeah. Let's do it.
Okay.
It's late enough where we can take Smith. I know a lot of people will probably frown at that pick too, but I like it.
Raymond says just business. You blocked me. That's what you were doing. Your fandom, one of the two. But I was thinking about this earlier, Bobby, and I'm curious to get your take on it because earlier I had a Jamar Chase and T. Higgins stack going, and I was thinking about doing Burrow, but I was able to get Hurts, and I was like, how many times have we actually seen this? I've seen it, I feel like, a couple times where, you think that it's going to be Burrow with Chase and Higgins, but for some reason or another, Jalen Hurts rushes for 60 yards and 2 touchdowns that week, and he ends up in the nuts, and if you think about just kind of ways to get different, everyone's kind of going to be on the Chase Higgins, Burrow stack that week. Yep. So,
yeah. And I think you're maximizing your upside too, because how often are Chase and Higgins going off the same week, right? How often is Chase putting up a 40-pointer and Higgins is also putting up 25 or 30, right? Yeah. And you got those two guys without Burrow, a good chance at high upside, each week. Plus you got Hurtsy at the helm, who we know can put up as many points as any QB.
Yeah, definitely.
Soups, who's your sorry, go ahead. Let's answer Soups, and I got a question for you.
No. Yeah, I was just going to say, Soups, one of the things about BBM, specifically this time of year, is like all the people drafted BBM are like really sharp. So I think that's kind of one of the things about it, the Justin Herzigs of the world, the sharpest best ball minds. And then this just being a slightly different format where you're really just, playing for that 1 week. I think that's kind of where some of the discrepancies in ADP are. What were you going to ask, Bobby?
I was going to ask what, who's your player, or who are your players that are kind of like standing out to you in terms of their ADP feels really low coming into the season as of right now? I mentioned DeAndre Swift. Who would be your Swift?
Yeah, that's a tough question. I think one of the guys I've kind of gravitated to a lot is Ramondre Stevenson. For some reason or another, I think people are kind of just forgetting about him because they drafted Travion Henderson. So who do we go here? Do we go to Dunze? Do we get
Let's take Rome. Let's take
Bear?
Rome. Let's take Rome, and then let's get Caleb.
Yeah, I like that option. So the reason
So
being
Ramondre.
is, yeah, I just been clicking his name a lot, and I think Travion is like a really good back, obviously, and he's a 3-down back. But I think the thing is like he's meant to be like a kind of he's best, I think, in a committee, and I think people are just forgetting about Ramondre. And he's just been going so late that I've been able to get him in really any type of build that I'm doing. So I don't know. I think he's kind of undervalued right now, but he is
going late. Oh, he's going so late, man. Oh,
yeah. So we missed out on Caleb, but we could take Judkins right here.
Yeah, we should probably grab running back. I like Judkins.
Yeah. Judkins is one of those guys where I've been choosing to your point, like you tell me to take Caleb there. I've been making that decision every time. But what if Flacco comes in and plays well and the offense is playing better than we think it's going to be, and he holds on to that job for a while? Judkins, the only issue with Judkins is we're worried about the offense, but what if the offense is better than we think it's going to be?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and again, it's not like we need a full 17-game season where he's producing high numbers, right? This is the weekly winners where I think, again, I'm more apt to take a guy like Judkins in this type of contest, where we could see some better weeks from Flacco and, better weeks from Judkins as well. So yeah, I dig it.
Juan Pablo, are we talking like redraft? Are we talking best ball? I typically like picking in the middle of the draft, but what are your thoughts, Bobby?
I like picking last, assuming it's a snake. Yeah.
I do like picking at the end sometimes because I feel like you could dictate the draft a little bit more. You just, kind of reach if you have to on some guys that you really want, to get those stacks to work.
And you kind of get to watch everything play out in front of you, right? You got more time to process everyone else's picks and, more time to process the board going back to back.
Most definitely. So we're talking redraft. Your home league, I don't know. Redraft is a little different for me because I don't expect everyone to be super sharp. Like if you're talking your home league, the earlier the better, in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay. So we got, let's see what we're at here. I think we're doing really well. We obviously got some stud wide receivers. So, we could probably look to maybe get a tight end, maybe get another running back here. We got Jalen Hurts. We got our stud quarterback. So, we got our luxury pick. So obviously, we didn't go super early on tight end with getting Jalen Hurts. What do you think, Bobby? What do you like here on the board?
Yeah, let's see if we. Tight end would be great. It would stink to reach.
Right. Maybe
Mark Andrews is a guy I'm so on the fence about. Like,
yeah.
I like Isaiah Likely a lot. Yeah, maybe who's we got here? Okay. I actually kind of do like Tracy. If we want to go running back here.
Let's jump down the board a little bit. I like that. One of the things that when I had Neil on and he talked about Neil Lorfield, he talked about his strategy is he'll kind of jump down a little bit, not on a lot of picks, but just on some picks to kind of differentiate his builds. Even like, because a lot of people are such ADP drafters, right?
Yep.
That's a good way to just get a little different.
Yeah, I like that. I think, in terms of that pick, like I'm not sold on Cam Scatabo by any stretch of the imagination. I think Tracy showed a lot last season. I'm excited about what he can do with Russ. Oh man. Okay, let's take Caleb. Let's do it.
Let's do it. Yeah. If doesn't have the same buy as Jalen Hurts. Perfect. We got both of our quarterbacks. We can look at maybe getting Burden or Loveland later to double stack it. So, and I got to ask Bobby, look at this guy. He's excited. We got Bink King right here. Yeah, wow. We got Bobby.
Let's go.
I know you don't think Cole Kmet's going to disappear. So What are your thoughts on the Komet Loveland split?
Komet is a phenomenal. If you need a tight end with your last pick of the draft, Komet is a great stash. I think we saw what Komet could do prior to last season was a huge stinker for him. It was rough.
Yeah.
But we know what Komet can do, and we also know that again, Ben Johnson likes using 2 tight ends. Cole Komet's very, very talented, very athletic guy that can score touchdowns. So you could get him literally in the last round probably. So I do like him as kind of like a last round solution.
I like that.
What are your thoughts on that situation?
So I've been getting a healthy amount of Loveland. I don't think I have a ton of Loveland. I really liked Loveland from like the pre-draft process. Just looking at him, like he was clearly like the best receiving tight end in the whole draft. The only problem is it's a crowded room, right? Between DJ Moore and Rome Odunze and then Burden and Loveland, and oftentimes we see these tight ends they come on, but it may be like late in the season, maybe like super late, So
sure.
I've been getting a good amount of him, but I'm not trying to overdraft him essentially, just because
I think that's wise. I think the one thing that's kind of nice about him is he's another guy that's bottomed out. I think in terms of ADP, he's dropped like 25 slots or 25, 30 slots since when he initially got drafted. So kind of getting some decent value, I think too. So I like not going overboard, but if he's there later, I also do think there's some upside there at some point.
All right, absolutely. Let's just get a tight end here.
I like Njoku. Yeah.
Yeah, and one of the things about the weekly winners, to your point, we talked about this a little bit, is being able to get those secondary stacks, just that correlation. So we got Judkins and Njoku here. We got Chase Brown and Jamar Chase there. So we got a lot of correlation apart from our Jalen Hurts to Devonta Smith stack. So feeling that.
I like it. That's a good shout out.
All right. We're on the clock again. Tough choices. I think we'll wait on
Ramondre. You got Ramondre on the board there if you want to snag him.
Might as well. I told you, he just keeps falling right there. He's right there for the pick. So I still think he's going to get a lot of the goal line carries. And I think one of the reasons I like Ramondre so much, Bobby, is I actually think the Patriots are going to be good this year. And we typically want to target running backs on good teams, right? So
that would help if they were good. Yeah, that would definitely help.
If they're bad, my Ramondre shares are going to be terrible because Travion Henderson is going to be on the field. They're going to be throwing a lot from behind. It's not going to be good if they're bad.
Part of my problem is I'm a feeler, okay? And Ramondre burned me, I think 17 out of 17 weeks last season. So he was always there. The next week, okay, this has got to be the week for him because he can catch passes. He's a very capable runner, scores touchdowns, but man, he stunk.
Yeah,
it was brutal. So yeah, he burned me. I think, man, he couldn't be worse. That's for sure.
I'm with you. Yeah, it was bad last year for sure when we played him. Big King, I'm gonna let Bobby answer this. First off, I love Kraft this year. I think he was great last year, especially in this kind of format because he catches TDs. But what do you think, Bobby? Andrews and Likely.
Yeah, I think might be kind of a little bit of my bias speaking here, but I am always skeptical about any pass catcher from the Ravens in general. And so Mark Andrews and Isaiah Likely, we've seen solid weeks from both of them, but having 2 pass catchers from the Ravens is even more sketchy to me, especially without Lamar. So I don't know. In terms of feels like maybe limiting upside there. I like the thought. But we've seen plenty of games where neither tight end gets involved. And it's like, that's the type of week that would absolutely kill your lineups here. So I don't know, in terms of maximizing upside, probably not the direction I would go.
Yeah, I've very much been taking Likely and just I've clicked Andrew's name maybe once or twice, just because last year he looked very much on the decline, and that's not something I really want to target, when I see a player on the decline in the following year, especially when the tight end behind him is really good. I think likely, I think if Andrews doesn't play, likely, should we take Burden right here for the Caleb stack?
Yep, I like it.
Okay. Yeah, I think if Andrews gets hurt, I think it's not out of the realm of possibility that likely could be a top 5 tight end with Lamar this year. Or if he just gets benched for whatever reason.
I like that. Yeah, the Ravens didn't seem super excited about bringing Andrews back, right? I think he's either the final year of his contract here or he's on a 1-year deal. I can't remember, but they didn't sound like thrilled about bringing him back. They weren't jumping, to get him back into the lineup.
I'll say this too.
I love Likely. I really do. I think that guy's a specimen. He's a stud.
I agree. And I'll say this too. I think a lot of people don't think enough about the fact that Mark Andrews has type 1 diabetes. That is you talk about a typical athlete who is aging and declining, and then throw on type 1 diabetes on top of that. That's a really hard thing to overcome. Really hard. I'm not a doctor. I'm just saying I think it factors in a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. I don't like any of these players right here, but we got to pick one. Let's take Tillman. I've been clicking Tillman a lot. I probably need to back off of that a little bit, honestly. But
wow, you've been clicking Tillman. That is not something I expected to hear. All right, sell us on it. So
Tillman was one of the underrated wide receivers a couple years ago, and for some of the talent evaluators, specifically Matt Waldman, who does a really good job with the rookie scouting portfolio, he had Tillman highly ranked. And last year, Tillman had those 2 to 3 weeks where he just burst on the scene and he looked like the next star, right? And then he got a concussion, and that was kind of it for him. He got a concussion, and then Judy broke out in Cleveland.
Yep.
And people are just forgetting about Tillman. And I think, again, if the offense is decent, if Flacco can be Flacco that we know and play some good football for at least a period of time, I like Tillman this year, at least at where his ADP is at 151. A guy that can have a spike week, because I want to say last year he had definitely a 25-point game. He had a 30-point game in that a couple weeks. So.
Oh yeah. I think you're right.
Yeah,
for sure on DraftKings, he's probably up 25, upper 20s on Underdog at least at a minimum.
Yeah.
I like the spike week thought. For a guy that's 150 ADP, there are not many people with that type of ceiling that you can get there. So I those are good points.
All right, we got another Tillman truther in here. So,
I'm scared of that quarterback situation. Look, I know Joe Flacco.
I am too.
Has looked good at times. Even though he's almost 50. It feels like the Browns just are not going to be very patient with him. They've got 5 young quarterbacks basically that they drafted. I'm just joking, but they have Shador. They've got the Oregon guy, right? Gabriel. Who was the other guy they drafted?
Dylan Gabriel. I don't even know what school he went to, honestly. And then they drafted Shador, of course.
Yep.
Yeah.
You got to think both those guys get a shot at some point. Take the reins, and I'm certainly not sold on either of those guys either.
Yeah. So Juan Pablo, real quick, this question I had from looking at this, and you'll see this in the article if you check it out at dfsarmy.com. You want typically a balanced build in your first 5 picks, 2 running backs, 2 wide receivers. That's pretty common. With mixing in occasionally, a luxury pick, you either choose elite quarterback or an elite tight end, but your first 5 picks, you really want to, the idea is you want about 2 running backs and 2 wide receivers, more or less. Okay, we probably need to take another.
I know it's gross.
Yeah.
I don't mind Pitts here if you're looking for a tight end.
Okay. Let's see. Week 9, week 5. All right. Doesn't have the same bye. I'm good with it. Why not?
It's so late for Pitts. Look, I'm not gonna sit
Yeah.
here and say, he's gonna be. This is his time now.
Yeah.
He's had enough time to show us that he can do stuff. But this late in the game should be a relatively high profile passing attack with Penix. I don't hate it.
I like that, Bobby. And you know what? I've actually been. I mean, that's a good point, Darth. That's the other thing is I haven't drafted enough Penix, and I need to get more. I think he could be. That's an offensive environment that I like. I mean, we love Bijan. We love Drake London. They got Mooney.
Yeah.
So, all right. Who else do we take here? We already got 2 quarterbacks, so we're set there. Do we like Rico Dowdle? I know you don't like.
I like Rico. Yes, I like Rico because I don't like Chuba.
Exactly. That's what I was just going to say. I know you don't like Chuba.
And I do think Rico Dowdle, he looked legit, like a legit running back, last season at times. He was the one guy that the Cowboys trotted out there that looked like he could be a starting running back. So I think he gets a shot at some point, whether Chuba gets hurt or regresses back to Chuba production of normal.
Well, it's funny. I was listening to JJ Zacharyson. I can't even say his name today. The Late Round Quarterback podcast. He does a lot of like really good work. And, one of the things that he said was like, even in half PPR formats, like running backs who, catch the ball, like they provide a lot of value. And Chuba Hubbard doesn't. But Rico Dowdle does.
No, he doesn't.
So.
Yeah, that's interesting. I didn't think about it from that angle, but I like it.
Yeah. All right, so we probably need to look at, another wide receiver. So we got 5 running backs, which is good. Plus we got Chase Brown early. We got Judkins. So we definitely got, 2 locked-in starters there.
Yeah, I like it. Didn't wait too long.
Yeah.
Also didn't go crazy.
Yeah. We got our quarterbacks. We're set there. We can look at getting Komet in the last round to pair with Njoku and Kyle Pitts. I think we got some heavy hitters at wide receiver. Probably want to draft at least one more.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, maybe we look at wide receiver next, unless the board's really ugly.
3 picks
so
away.
Are you a 2 quarterback guy and cut it? Like you get 2 good quarterbacks and that's it? Or do you then do a third sometimes in this weekly winners type of contest?
Yeah, what I found. All right, I think Demario Douglas is going to have a big year, and he's 11 spots past ADP.
Let's do it.
I've been hearing a lot of buzz with him that he's going to play the slot role in Josh McDaniels' offense, and he's just looked really good in OTA. So he's a guy that I like. So typically what I did find, Bobby, was that if you have, an elite one like Jalen Hurts or Lamar or Jaden Daniels, one of those guys, you really just want to stop at 2 quarterbacks.
Okay. Yeah, that's interesting. I've always wondered that.
Yeah. But had I not got Jalen, I would have went with 3 for sure. So, all right.
This is you could talk me into taking Anthony Richardson here. I know it's as crazy as that sounds, just because he's got his upside, it can be so high at times, but we don't necessarily.
Let's do it.
Okay, we're getting crazy.
Yeah. Why not?
Talk about a guy that could absolutely stink and just be benched and never play in the NFL again, or maybe rediscovers a little bit of magic here, and I think he could have some higher ceiling weeks. That's the only reason I say it.
Yeah,
with him down there at the end.
I think it's good just because I think we're set at running back overall and wide receiver, and we just had one more pick, so we could take Komet or we could take whatever's just best available. I like it. Well, we can look at everyone's draft. I guess we'll kind of just go over ours and then we'll go through everyone else's. But we got Hurts and Devonta Smith to stack with him. So that's our primary. We got Chase Brown and Jamar Chase as a secondary. We got more correlation there with Judkins and
Tillman
Njoku.
and Njoku, yeah.
And Tillman. So We probably should have taken like Shador or Flacco, but it's fine.
That's true.
Yeah, it's all good. We got a Caleb double with a Dunze and Luther Burden. So, and also we got Demario Douglas to go with Ramondre. So we got a lot of correlation, Bobby.
Yep. I like it. I like it a lot.
Yeah. I think this is going to be a good draft overall. And I think with these drafts, it's just kind of, you try to put in a lot of bullets just because it's, the variance. So
yep.
last year, I only did 15 because I started doing it and then I just didn't hammer enough drafts and it filled quicker than I thought. This year, I'd like to get 50 at least. And, we're about 20 away from 50. So
not too bad. Not too far off. Got some time. Yeah. If you end up waiting on these for too long, though, you get close to the season and
I know
you're just swimming in drafts. It's like, oh my God.
Yeah. You got to be careful with doing too many slow drafts. It gets overwhelming. I wake up because I had like 30 going. I wake up and I got like to pick in like 10 leagues. So.
Yep. I feel that. You get sick for like a day or two and all of a sudden, you're on auto draft in 9 drafts. You're like, oh my God, what just happened?
Yeah. No joke. I've done that a few times because I overslept. Okay. I like Trevor Lawrence. The same thing. I haven't gotten enough Trevor Lawrence either. I want to get more of him.
I like that. I like that too. With, Hunter coming in, he's a big boost to that offense.
All right. We got our Cole Kmet.
Boom.
So we're good. Let's go through everyone's, shall we?
Let's do it.
All right.
Does it give you the summary here at all? Like some of the drafts will give you like weekly points project. Not that projections mean anything, but it's always kind of fun to look at. I don't think it did. Maybe it's on mobile.
It does. It does ours. So this one, it tells us we have 193, which is quite good.
Yeah,
for sure. But let's look at beta runners. Started out with Saquon, went T, AJ Brown, DJ Moore. So got your boy DJ.
Oh man, I love him. I love DJ. Without Keenan Allen, he's going to have a massive season.
Yeah. He's very good. And so he went Patrick Mahomes, then Aaron Jones, Andrews, Cam Scattaboo, Marvin Mims, Hollywood Brown. So Stafford, we can't see his last pick, but the only thing is I didn't love the correlation here. Probably would have wanted to get like Rashee Rice and Worthy to stack with Mahomes.
He at least got Hollywood, but I definitely would prefer one of those two guys.
And but hey, if he goes
Kelsey.
Yeah, he didn't go Kelsey. He got Noah Gray. So if Kelsey really falls off, maybe. What are your thoughts?
There you go. Hey, that's interesting. Yeah. Again, like last couple round pick. That's solid. But you want to look at correlation there, and I think that was a good call.
Okay. Last pick with Higby. Okay. That makes sense. And also got Kareem Hunt. So did get a little bit more correlation there than I originally thought. Razor loves the running backs. So, loads up. And then, of course, he sniped us on Joe Burrow. So Gibbs, Jonathan Taylor, Kyron Williams, got Burrow, Chuba.
4 running backs in the first 5. That's impressive.
Heavy. Chuba, Laporta, Addison, Shakir. So, and then got Goff there with Laporta. I think he went Gibbs, right? So, Gibbs and Laporta with Goff. All right. Was able to get Gesicki and Yoshivas and Jermaine Burton. So he basically said, what if Chase and Higgins are not the guys you need? And it's Burrow with Yoshivas, Jermaine Burton, and Gesicki.
Oh, man. Gesicki had some monster weeks. Another guy that can randomly just pop up there as like a top scoring tight end for a week or two. We saw it last season.
Yep.
I like it. I like that one.
Right on, Chris. We're going to do another one. Stick around. I like it too, Bobby. Definitely different, contrarian, and again, this isn't a traditional best ball draft. So there's no way like that's going to be what you need in a traditional best ball draft. But for 1 week, that definitely could be what you need,
Yep.
Like Chase is hurt for a game and Higgins is number 1. He's getting the number 1, corner coverage. Who knows? Maybe it's he's going against Patrick Surtain, right? And then Yoshi Voss and Gesicki go off that week. It's possible.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, we got Drago here, CeeDee Lamb, Bucky Irving. I love that. Love the start. Mike Evans, Kenneth Walker, Cortland Sutton, Baker. So we got Baker with Evans and Bucky. I like that. Judy, Mason, Igbuka. So Igbuka with there. Igbuka, I've been drafting a lot. What are your thoughts on him this year?
I need more of him. He's a guy that I should be drafting more of. I'm scared of Mike Evans and Godwin. I like Godwin. I know he's coming back from a major injury, but he's an easy guy to root for too. For my bias. And McMillan just looked so good. Obviously they're not gonna. I don't think they're gonna play McMillan over him as a first round pick. But McMillan looked really, really solid last season. So I don't know, a lot of mouths to feed there. And Baker was at the top of his game. We don't know how long that's gonna last.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I was sad on McMillan because I had some dynasty shares, and I was once they picked up Igbuka, I was like, well, there goes that, unless
it's pretty
there's
much
an injury.
over.
But maybe
there will be an injury. We can almost guarantee that. But bummer for McMillan.
So good draft here, Drago. Obviously, there was Trevor Lawrence. You got Diami Brown there, plus Sam Darnold and Arroyo. And also, just a lot of correlation as normal. Love the draft. Darth, last one, I think. Yeah, last one. Or no, Soups. We got Soups, Jefferson. We'll go through this quick. Jacobs, Allen. So, elite wide receiver. Got the running back. Definitely a top 10 running back. Josh Allen, elite quarterback. Definitely top three quarterback. Yeah. Williams, Kamara, Hunter, Kelsey, Reed, and Matthew Golden. So I'm guessing you went with no? Yeah, you got Love and McCarthy. So the only thing I would say is with Josh Allen, I definitely wouldn't have drafted more than 2 quarterbacks. But I don't hate it because you got some good stacking options with it. So
and Love went so late. Not horrible.
Yeah. Roshan, I've been getting a good amount of him lately.
Yeah, a lot of people, all over the Bears' 7th round draft pick. But I think Roshan is the clear second guy there, and and someone with touchdown equity. We saw it last season near the goal line. He's a guy that could score a touchdown. And Swift could get hurt too. We've seen that happen too. So,
no doubt. I'll let you answer that real quick here, Bobby.
I think he could be a touchdown scorer in Dallas. So I do think you're getting some value with Pickens, at least as of now. His ADP seems lower than it should be.
I agree. It should be. Yeah, I need to get more of him. Another guy I need to get more of is Travis Hunter, just because there's so much uncertainty that he's not going to play on offense a lot. And it may be the case, but what if he does play a lot? Like, they moved up to get him because he's a weapon that could play on both sides of the ball. He's such a dynamic athlete that if he does play a lot on offense, I just think he's kind of a little mispriced right now.
Yeah, he's a guy that could definitely, boom. He's talented enough. With Brian Thomas there, to me, it's more of a question of, can Trevor Lawrence feed those 2 mouths?
Exactly.
If they are both playing. So.
Yeah. All right, we'll finish this out with Darth. Amon-Ra Nico, so went double elites wide receiver. James Cook came back around and got James Cook. So made sure to get 1 running back in the first 5 picks. I like that. Devontae, Jalen Waddle, so loaded up at wide receiver. Then went with your boy Swift, Brian Robinson, starting running back on a good team. Both of these guys, which we expect Chicago to be a good team this year. I do. I know Bobby does too.
Yeah. Well, yes, I do. I do every year, but no, this year they should be.
And then went Stephon Diggs, Drake May. Drake May's and Diggs, that's a stack I've been getting a lot too, so I like that. Pittman, I think people forget Pittman was hurt last year, and he's actually.
I like Pittman a lot. I'm way too high on him, but I love that pick.
Yeah.
Agreed. Triple tap quarterback there. Did he not have one earlier?
Yeah. It looks like he went with May and Stroud.
That paid off this time for him. That draft looks great. Wow, it's impressive.
At 12, absolutely, and was able to get Nico with Stroud. Got close to Loveland, so he didn't make it back around to us, which was sad, but that's a good pick by him. couple high ups, really high upside running backs with Algier.
Handcuffs. I love those 3.
Yeah.
I Wandale too with Russ. I think
Yeah.
Look, Russ, people can say what they want about Russ. I think Russ elevates Wandale's game from a touchdown scoring perspective. So Wandale, we know he's going to be targeted a bunch, but if he can just get in the end zone, that guy's going to way outproduce his current ADP.
I think so too. Yeah, I've been trying to click his name a bit more. I like it. Well, Bobby, you got time for another one?
Yeah, let's roll it.
All right. Did you want to get in this one? All right, let me cancel this.
Yeah, I'll try to get in here.
Okay. All right. So here we go, guys. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Let's see who gets in. 2 more people. Let's go fill fast.
I think I made it.
All right, we got 50 seconds here. All right, I gotta go to the restroom. I'm gonna let you answer this question here, Bobby.
Perfect. I think for me it's Ibuka. I think that's the way I'm going. Dynamic Brown. I do like him as well. He's kind of shooting up the ADP draft board, so he's not quite as much of a value as he was earlier, but I like it. Talking about McMillan. McMillan should be on the field for it. He should be among the starting 3 for a team. So probably not going to be the case for the Bucs to start the season, but Godwin and Evans their average age is like 63 at this point. We know Godwin's come back from injury, so he's going to get on the field at some point. He has to. No, not eliminator. Oh, maybe it was a sign. It's fate. Maybe you're going to take that thing down.
Right. All right. Clearly Bobby got in here because I could see your name there. Perfect. That's awesome.
Oh, you got the last pick. Look at that.
Yeah.
That'll be fun.
I don't mind it because especially when you're doing a live stream, you're not on the clock so much. You can plan out your picks a little better.
You don't have to panic, look down every minute or so.
Exactly. All right. So Justin Jefferson went 2nd. That's a little bit of a surprise.
That's Eddie right there.
Yeah. Like it. Not as running back heavy as the last one. So
I'm not a huge Vikings guy as it is.
Yeah.
Let's see here. Oh, man. I'm taking Derrick Henry.
There you go. I like that one.
Give me those points. I'm not sold on JJ McCarthy. I don't know where you're at on him. I don't know that we saw a ton of greatness at Michigan, with the offense they ran. We spent all last season hurt, but I don't know. People are high on him.
That's fair. I think I trust in Kevin O'Connell, but sometimes that doesn't always work out. So, we've seen it happen before. Oof, this is tough. If people are going to give me Nico, I'm just going to continue to click his name.
That would have been my first click as well.
Yeah. And I said
I love that.
Someone's going to get a value here with Genty, but I got to click H on.
He's another guy I'm not sold on contributing, at a first round level this season.
Yeah.
Obviously, Genty's a beast. I think, at some point he's going to be a very solid running back in the league, but that Raiders team certainly isn't there yet.
I agree. Maybe it's the Bronco fan in me talking, but I think people are just assuming that the Raiders are going to be good, and I don't see it. Geno's 35. He's not young. He's going to another team. Chip Kelly has been very hit or miss in the NFL for sure.
I don't love this. I'm doing it though.
So I don't know. All right, I like Lamar. Okay, so Bobby, I've done that a couple times.
I don't typically do that either, but Lamar was staring at me.
So I like it because so many times we're like, we shouldn't stack like a running quarterback with the running back, right? But how many times did we see it last year where like they were actually in the nuts together?
That's the only reason. Like that, it never happens that way. But for whatever reason, with the Ravens, Lamar and Derrick Henry were able to pull it off, and those were guys that were priced at the top of the salary range too, and still paying off, which was shocking every time. But you're right, it did happen. So that's why I ended up pulling the trigger.
Yeah, I did that a couple times actually because of that. So
plus, I think you're almost locking yourself in almost to one of the higher scoring quarterbacks or running backs each and every week.
Agreed.
Kind of nice.
Agreed. So you're not wrong, and I think they will. I've actually gotten a decent amount of Brock Bowers and Jacoby Myers, and I have got Geno at times, but at cost, I think the price is just it's high for Genti there.
That's the key. Yeah. The production, I don't know that it's going to be first round level for him, but you're right. And even with worse players, like to me, AOC was maybe one of the worst quarterbacks to ever put on a jersey in the NFL, and yet Brock Bowers, still able to break records and smash DFS. So
yeah,
certainly possible.
All right, so you took Lamar. We've seen Josh Allen. Hurts has not gone yet. Neither has Jaden. Okay. Yeah, so past ADP for Jaden. Trey McBride. Tough decisions.
I like having a tight end. I like taking a tight end that I can count on here.
I like that.
Would love to see more upside, touchdown scoring upside from McBride.
I know.
Need to see it. I was a harsh critic of all last season of him because he was never really a boom guy.
Mm-hmm.
I think he scored his first touchdown the last week of the season, actually. So he's going to need to score more of those to pay off.
I know, and part of it too, I feel like was just Kyler Murray's fault. Like he just couldn't hit him. Just so many air throws near the end zone. Okay,
that's frustrating.
I have so much Devontae Adams. I feel like I have to get different.
I love Devontae. I love him this season.
Reach down a bit just to get different.
You snagged him from me.
Yeah.
Brokenhearted. No.
I'm sorry.
No, it's hard. I'm just messing around.
They should, yeah. So he ran incredibly bad last year on touchdowns. Like if he gets the same kind of volume this year that he got last year, I don't think it's without the realm of possibility that he should triple what he had in touchdowns last year. Like that was
I'm going to reach here. I'm going to reach here as well.
Okay. Who we got? Let's see. DK. Okay.
As a Bears fan, I don't care how old Aaron Rodgers is. I know what that guy can do. DK Metcalf in him should be a match made in heaven. Perfect bounce back year from DK. Guy that could score a bunch of touchdowns. So certainly risky, but I'm chasing that DK upside.
I was thinking about clicking his name, but I've clicked his name so many times already that I was like, I need to back off of it.
I love the DJ Moore pick. That they'll even run him out of the backfield on end arounds, almost like a poor man's version of Deebo Samuel is kind of a guy in the backfield. He scored a couple touchdowns that way last season. They're just going to get the ball in his hands. So
sure,
type of guy you want on your fantasy team.
Yeah. Yeah, and my thing is if I think the Bears are going to be good, we trust in Ben Johnson, the upgrades to the offensive line, and just so many pass catchers. It's like just kind of need to take turns getting pieces of the offense. Some drafts it's Adunze, some drafts it's, Burden, which I've already got a lot of, DJ Moore as well. Just mix it up.
And not to hammer it beat a dead horse here, but we do want those spike weeks in the weekly winners contest. And, with as bad as the Bears were at times last season, we still had a couple of spike weeks from Caleb. And those, 2 of those weeks included DJ Moore, who had also spiked and scored a massive amount of points. So they can only get better.
Yeah, you're right about that. Are you surprised that Keenan Allen remains unsigned? Like, how has Pittsburgh not called Keenan Allen yet? He was good last year. I'm shocked by this.
The only thing I can think of is that they have called him, and he said no. He said, I'm not interested.
Yeah.
Maybe he's waiting for the Chiefs to ring him up or something. Yeah, that's the only thing. That's the only thing I could think of. Oh, geez. Let's see.
Ooh, we got a little run on running backs now. Okay, there we go. Got to get your guy, Swift.
I mentioned I gotta put my money where my mouth is here.
Right.
I believe.
Oof.
Now I won't feel obligated to take Caleb, so that frees me up a little bit too. The rest of the draft.
Oh man. Okay.
Oh,
I have too much Calvin Ridley. I thought about taking him, but I have too much of him. So, all right, I'm gonna go a little off the board there. I'm gonna stack Waddle with H-on. I said I got to get more of these guys. Let's do it.
Yeah, he's the guy you mentioned earlier. I think.
Yeah.
With Jonas Smith, I really like that call. I think that's a really good point. Waddle has what it takes, man. He just needs a quarterback. He needs Tua to stay healthy.
Yeah, I know. I was thinking the other day, I'm like, if I do a lot of these, maybe I should take Zach Wilson in the last round in one of these, just in one of them. You never know.
Oh my gosh. Well, now I'm going to do it.
There we go. I like it.
What do you think about Blue? Oh, let's see. Caleb and the Bears always home. Yeah, they look good at times.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on Blue for Dallas?
I've not been in on Blue. I think maybe I'll take a little bit more shots. I know Geek's been heavy on Javonte. I have not.
Me neither.
But I've been forcing myself to draft him a couple times. I've just hardly drafted that backfield, and I probably need to take a few shots just because it's ambiguous. And typically those are the backfields you want to target because you get good value there if you have the right guy. But from everything I've heard of from guys in the scouting community, like Blue is just he's not going to be the guy that you're going to need in Dallas.
It almost reminds me of a spitting image of last season with Deuce Vaughn, right? There was a time when Deuce Vaughn was the hottest commodity. And you would have been smart to not take any of those running backs, right? And no one really panned out. Rico had a couple of solid weeks, but that was about as good as it got. So I'm with you. I do think Blue is talented, but yeah, RB3 on the Cowboys probably isn't a spot you want to be to produce.
That's a good point. And I think, you're probably just better off going after CD Lamb and, Pickens and Ferguson and just leaving that backfield alone. It seems like it's a headache to me. We just have a lot of guys that are just been disappointments, perennial disappointments.
Yep. And that offense is going to sling the football. Dak Prescott's going to sling the football as long as he's healthy. And even we saw Cooper Rush with, a bunch of 40-plus passing attempts at times. So, Oh my gosh, let's see. This feels kind of gross here.
Kelsey, okay.
The Taylor Swift newness has worn off enough for Kelsey to come back to form here. I'm banking on.
I've seen a lot of talk that all right, it feels gross, but I'm going to do it.
I like him. I like him in this style. I hate him in DraftKings. Love him on Underdog. B-Rob.
Yeah. I don't disagree with that. All right, I'm gonna take ETN here too. What was I gonna say? I've heard enough talk that it's kind of Kelsey and Rashee Rice kind of play, the same part of the field. At this point, that you kind of need to be one. You need to be in on one or the other. It's hard to imagine a scenario where Kelsey has a big year, Rashee Rice has a big year.
Yeah.
Especially at this point in Kelsey's career. But so yeah, I like definitely getting different builds where, you have a Kelsey build and then you have a Rashee Rice build type thing.
He's going later enough this year where I can almost justify it. Probably not getting Kelsey in the whatever 6th round or whatever that was last season or in previous years at the end of the 6th or 7th round.
Yeah, I agree. I like the Kyler Murray with McBride stack there. That's good to get that.
If McBride's gonna be booming, it's because Kyler's throwing him touchdown passes. Sure. So I'm kind of all in. Once I drafted McBride, I was all in.
So thinking I don't love ETN, but it's kind of the same thing where I'm just targeting all three really, ETN, Bigsby, and Bashal Tootin. I think both ETN and Bigsby were dealing with injuries last year. And it's just like they weren't going to be good last year anyway because they didn't have Trevor Lawrence. So I think maybe we get a bounce back from ETN. The coach still seems to be high on him per the comments this past week. So, I'm taking a few shots there, but I'm not going to have a ton of ETN. You got any thoughts on the Jacksonville backfield, Bobby?
It's pretty gross. I'm with you. I think if someone's going to emerge, it'll be ETN. At the same time, we saw Bigsby put up some solid weeks as well. So I don't know. At least in terms of Bashal Tootin, like I'm out on him. I'm not getting much of him at all.
Yeah.
Let's see. I gotta take someone. I gotta do it. Actually, you know what?
Okay. Tracy. I've been clicking his name a lot. I'm not in on Cam Scattaboo.
I don't know if I'm a hater of Scattaboo. That might be what it is. I think I'm just a hater. Maybe he's going to come out and be awesome, but I think the Giants like Tracy, and that dude looked really good last season in a really bad offense.
Yeah, I think I'm probably a hater too. Caleb went. That's fine. You know what? I'm going to jump down a little bit. I'm going to take Tyler Warren. I haven't taken him enough.
I agree. I'm in the same boat.
Yeah. I've been hearing talk that they're going to use him, kind of like a Taysom Hill type. And that was some of the scouting that I read on him was, you can line him up just in so many different ways. He's like a kind of a Joker type tight end. He can run, he can catch, he can do all these things. And if they plan to use him that way, then I think he's probably being undervalued a little bit. And honestly, we thought he was like, easily the second best tight end in the draft, maybe the first, depending on who you talk to. But everyone's down on him because of the landing spot. But if they plan to scheme him up a lot, he can end up being a value. So want to get some more.
Yep. I completely agree. Yeah, Warren, he was the guy, right? He was projected to be the first tight end off the board. He's super talented in so many ways. I think he's being undervalued right now to all your points. So I like it.
Yeah. So Bobby, I have a question for you because you are obviously a very sharp DFS mind. I know you're very humble, but I'm just going to say, I watch Tournament Tactics every week. And typically when you have like a contrarian play that you're talking up, they almost always have a good week. So when you're doing a lot of drafts, like I know you do you still do 150 or do you do 20 max? What does that look like for you?
In best ball or just
like just say like a regular DFS Sunday?
It depends. Not as much 150 anymore, but
yeah.
but yeah, I probably more of that than anything else still.
Okay.
20 max or 150.
Okay. So let's say you're playing 150. If you got a contrarian take on a guy that's, going to be pretty low owned, what is like a comfortable exposure for you? Are you going all in, 40% on that type of player, or, you just double the field, triple the field on maybe a 5 to 10% on player? Like, what does your exposure look like for a player like that?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think to me, it's entirely leverage based in the sense of whatever the projected ownership is going to be for that player. Like, I'm not a believer in all in, no matter what. That to me never seems like a strategy that ultimately pays off in 150 max if you're trying to take down the millie.
Mm-hmm.
I do think you got to make stands, but stands don't mean, oh shoot, I got to make a
go
pick
all
here.
in.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You know what? I'm taking him. I don't believe in Tony Pollard. Give me some. This is Spears season to break out here.
I like Spears.
But yeah, I'm never like a lock button guy. It's all leverage for me. And I typically, usually those guys that I'm taking are in the single digit percentage ownerships, oftentimes below 5. So if a guy's like projected to be 2 or 3% owned, I want to try and get at least 5x of that guy.
Right.
In my lineups. With 150 lineups, 15% gets you a solid amount of guys in there, a solid amount of lineups with that player. So, and I go back to the Millie Makers winners, and they were, it was guys that were projected to be 3-4% that I went, 4 or 5x on. That's what ended up doing it for me. Okay. So maybe it's just because experience bias, but that's kind of my approach. Is it's always leverage based on projected ownership.
It makes sense because so many times when I look at, past lineups of like top DFS players, when I do my Millie Maker review, you do have some guys who are really sharp and they have their really strong takes and they'll almost play exclusively those players, right? But they have huge swings. So they're either near the top of the leaderboards or they're just lighting $3,500 on fire, for the Millie Maker. So, and then you have guys who, will just, Statsational, for example, kind of to your point too, with, what you're telling me, who would just be just a little bit over and a little bit under. Mm-hmm. But yeah, maybe they'll be like 20% on that player who's like, 3 to 4% owned type thing.
Yeah. And I love that approach because I think if you're playing 150, you have to respect and play the variance, right? So if I'm locking in, usually the guys, the lower exposure guys are less expensive. If I'm locking in one less expensive guy, that means I'm missing out. My lineups are missing out on, maybe a couple other lower owned guys in that low salary range that could also pop off because no one really knows, right? No one has a crystal ball.
Right.
So usually there's a couple guys in that salary range that I want to be overweight on. If I'm locking one guy in, it kind of eliminates those guys showing up in my other lineups. So respect the variance and, play into that a little bit by not going all in and having a spread. Leverage is good. But that's kind of my approach is respect the variance there and respect the leverage.
And the reason I asked that is because you could obviously apply that to these type of contests too, is, you may have your player takes who you really like for this season, but when I start looking at the fact that I have 42% Cam Ward through 30 drafts, I'm like, okay, so I need to stop clicking Cam Ward's name because even though I like him, I don't like him that much, it's a little scary.
That's hilarious. No, I kind of like that you're paying attention to that. That's important. I kind of getting it from a DFS perspective, I think is helpful. Oh geez, I keep forgetting.
For sure. I like hand building too. It's funny. I actually feel most of the time that, my best lineups are hand built just because you could think of it so many different ways. And you could pull up that same lineup and just, be like, okay, let's switch out this wide receiver. Let's switch out this running back. So I like that process. getting hard to pick here. I don't know why.
Yeah, man, everything dried up way faster than I felt like it did that first draft we just did. So I don't know.
I guess because I'm picking at 12 now. I think I'm going with Jalen Hurts unstacked in this one, which is fine because there's been, I want to say 17% of the time over the past 2 years, the quarterback of the winning lineup was unstacked, and it was always a Jalen Hurts, a Justin Fields, a Lamar Jackson, one of those type of quarterbacks who can rush for multiple scores, and they don't necessarily need to bring a pass catcher with them.
Yep. I like that. Yeah, even Lamar, like he's another one of those guys. Although Bateman overperformed last season, it felt like had some big games, but yeah, Hurtsy naked is perfectly fine with me. I wanted to ask you, okay, so, and I do have this right? You're a Bronco fan?
Yes. Yeah.
I'd love to hear your thoughts on Bo Nix and the whole team in general, but like I've been head over heels in love with Pat Bryant because he's an Illini guy. So I love the Fighting Illini. Pat Bryant kind of put them back on the map a little bit from a football perspective.
Okay.
After years and years of misery. And now he's with the Broncos with what seems to be somewhat, behind Sutton, a somewhat open wide receiver room with Sean Payton, a coach that I think kind of went out of his way to get him. What are your thoughts on Bryant? He's shot way up the ADP boards over the last couple weeks, but like, is he a guy that could earn a starting role and have a respectable season fantasy-wise in your eyes?
100%. So, and he just went off the board at 167. I actually have too much Pat Bryant as well. So I'm like, I need to back off of him a little bit. It's funny. I was listening. I kind of thought that like, this is going to be a very hard wide receiver room from week to week to predict. Because you got Cortland Sutton, who's, been the constant in the offense, but you bring in Evan Ingram, and the Broncos haven't had a receiving tight end in 2 years. And, Mims came on last year, but Mims' route tree, I don't know if you follow like a Matt Harmon from Reception Perception, does incredible work, but his route tree is screens or deep balls. It's a crazy like route tree, like anything like Matt Harmon has like ever seen, basically with a wide receiver. And the good thing is where Pat Bryant fits into that is he gets things in the middle of the field where Marvin Mims doesn't, right? So I think he's going to have a role. I like Pat Bryant. Michael Thomas was the comparison that Sean Payton used. They drafted him in the 3rd round, higher than anyone thought he would go. So, immediately when I saw that kind of, made my ears perk up a little bit when I heard, Sean Payton say that. As far as that kind of comparison.
Yeah. That's what initially set me off because, and obviously being a Illini fan helped he was just such a specimen there, stood out on the football field. And that doesn't happen when you're an Illini football player very often.
Yeah.
But seeing Sean Payton, how much he loved him kind of cued me. We were getting him in the 200s ADP, like maybe 2 or 3 weeks ago.
Yeah.
Not that long ago.
Yeah, no, it's pretty crazy. So, but I do think it's going to be hard to predict because you got Vele, who's kind of very similar to Pat Bryant. So I think the Broncos situation is going to be like one to monitor with training camp reports and preseason games and look who's like showing out the most. And those are probably, I think you probably want to get a little bit of Vele just because he's going like in the last round of drafts. And then Troy Franklin is kind of that deep threat guy too, who was open a lot last year. Knicks just missed him. And then, he had a couple drops, but he's apparently had a really good offseason and looked really good in OTA. So your guess is as good as mine, honestly. Bobby.
They got some young, raw talent, man. They got lots of it over there. Just how the heck is it going to pan out?
Yeah. I agree. Yeah. It's going to be tough. It's going to be tough. It's funny because it's kind of like the Bears. The Bears have a clearly better wide receiver talent, though, but kind of like with the same discussion, it's like there's so many mouths to feed. Like, who's going to be that guy? Who's going to be that? Is it going to be Burden? Is it going to be a Dunze? Is Loveland going to be the guy you need? I don't know.
Yeah, youth makes it so much harder, right? Because we saw it with last season with Caleb. It was DJ Moore, and then for a while it was Keenan Allen. Like always, the veteran guys that the rookie QBs or younger QBs kind of hone in on, where the younger wide receivers are still trying to find their footing. Everyone's young in Denver, outside of Cortland Sutton. So it's like, oh my gosh, craziness.
100%.
I have no idea where to peg that team this season. Like I feel like they could be really competitive. Their offense could take a big step up. And there's so many unknowns. Like, are you excited? Do you feel like this could be a playoff season maybe?
Yeah, so their defense is going to be even better than last year's. So I think their defense is, like, assuming no one gets hurt, like, it's going to be a top 5 defense. I think you could lock that in. So I think they'll be a playoff team. I hope the offense will make another step. I do think it will. But just figuring out who it's going to be week to week, I think it's going to be hard because the running back room got a lot more competitive. So did the wide receiver room. So I've been getting Nix and just trying to spread out exposures with him because it's just going to be, I think, so hard. I think you want pieces of the offense, but I think it's going to be hard to nail down who you're going to need. The good thing is all the guys go late, like past
exactly
minutes, so.
Yes. Yeah, that's true too. Kind of an interesting approach. Get Bo Nix and then kind of stack whoever you want at the end of the draft.
Yeah. Right.
Boom or bust.
Exactly. So last couple picks here, I think I'm going to get another running back and a tight end, and both of my guys that I queued up are right there. So I just did this for correlation, basically. I got Marshawn Lloyd to correlate with Romeo Doubs, who I think Romeo Doubs is a good wide receiver. So, and I think he will have some weeks. I like Love. And then Marshawn Lloyd, he was basically his last season was a throwaway, his rookie season, because of injuries. But if Jacobs gets hurt, a lot of people really loved Marshawn Lloyd going into last year. So he could be kind of a mill ticket if Jacob gets hurt and he does correlate. And then I got Dalton Schultz here to get a little bit more correlation there with Nico Collins.
I really like the Lloyd pick. Yeah, he was my next pick starred. So that's good stuff.
Yeah, let's look at. Did you get your last pick in?
I don't love what I'm seeing here, so I'm going to do something. Again, we typically don't do, but I'm going to take.
Okay, going with Rodgers. All right,
take A-Rod here, just because I got DK Metcalf. Maybe we see a big week or two where he can do something for me.
You're right, definitely. So let's go over your draft. I liked it because, like, right away you started out with that correlation with Henry and Lamar, and not a lot of people are going to stack those two together. So I like that, as we talked about. You got DK, and you stacked him with Aaron Rodgers, so you got that correlation. You got McBride and Kelsey at tight end.
Yep.
Yeah, why don't you go through your team, Bobby? Let us know your thoughts here.
Yeah, I think kind of like what we hit on at the beginning. Correlation is king for me. So sometimes to a fault, but let's see this here. Okay, you got it up there. Yeah, I just lost it on my phone somehow.
Sorry.
But yeah, no, I think, Lamar and Derrick Henry, we saw them put up big numbers last season together. So kind of like that. They were there. We talk about McBride and Murray.
Yeah.
And then A-Rod and DK. I like trying to get correlation. If I'm going to draft wide receivers up toward the top, I like trying to get correlation with them just because I'm expecting them to score big points anyway. So it's kind of why I took a flyer on Rodgers at the end. But
for sure.
A lot of boomer bust guys here, like Keon Coleman was horrible last season. I think if he's going to be good, this is the year that he has to show it. I think he takes a step up as long as he can stay healthy. So I took a shot on him. Talked about Spears. I'm not sold on Tony Pollard by any means. He's another year older. reports are that Spears looks good. So I like taking a flyer on him as like my 4th or 5th running back. And then, DeAndre Hopkins, one guy we didn't talk about.
Yes.
He's old as heck, man. But we need touchdowns on Underdog, and I already had Lamar. So, why not? Could there be a couple weeks where DeAndre turns back the clock and scores multiple touchdowns? I'm willing to take a shot in round 15 that we see it. So that's kind of my thought process.
I'm with it, especially in this format. He had some good games last year with Mahomes.
He looked okay. Yeah.
Yeah, he was part of the offense. I think especially in this format, like we're not depending on him being, a stud the whole season. You just need some spike weeks out of him, essentially.
Exactly. Oh, one other guy I'll just mention too, Michael Wilson. No one's talking about him, and probably rightfully so, because Kyler still is inconsistent as can be. But he's still the WR2 there. We know Harrison isn't necessarily the most healthy player. He could struggle with some injuries. So why not Michael Wilson, who's probably going to start every week for that Cardinals team at wide receiver. Already have Kyler, more correlation there.
Yeah, he's very underrated. Like very underrated. People don't like talking about him. He's a good receiver for sure. So I like that pick. I would say I like Keon Coleman too. Your points at Keon Coleman. Like I just want to pick. I want to bet on talent on like teams that we know are going to score a ton of points. That's kind of one of the things with James Cook last year. Like James Cook ran so hot because Buffalo scored so many touchdowns. Like he was just beneficiary, near the goal line. So, and Keon Coleman was a talented rookie, and I guess he was hurt often last year. So could take a step.
Yeah, worth a shot.
All right. So anyone else?
Talk me through your team here.
What's that?
Talk me through your team here. You took my guy a couple times, so I like what I saw, but let's talk through it.
So I started Nico Collins. I wanted to get some exposure to Devin Achon, so I chose him over Gianti. You basically another thing I found is like in this format, you really want to get an elite wide receiver or an elite tight end. Like you just kind of need that upside, right? So, or not wide receiver. You need elite wide receivers, of course, but a quarterback or tight end. So that's why I took Jalen Hurts here, as he fell just a little bit, not a lot. And then, DJ Moore, Zay Flowers, Jalen Waddle, these are guys that I think all have high upside, so I wanted to load up there on the wide receivers as I kind of did more of a hero RB build here with Achon, get my anchor. And then
I like that you talked about PPR too. It's half point PPR, but you said that that could kind of lead to an edge, and man, nobody better with PPR and touchdowns than Achane. So really interesting. As long as Tua can stay healthy.
Yeah. We want guys that score touchdowns, and DJ Moore, Zay Flowers, Waddle, Nico, Achane, Hurts, like those are all touchdown scorers right there. Assuming, Miami's offense gets back to what we remember a couple of years ago.
I'm buying.
Yeah. And then it's just, I needed to get running back, so I took Robinson there. Just as of now, starting running back on a good team that was in the NFC Championship last year. ETN was kind of like, can he get back to the ETN that we remember? Can the Jags take a step forward this year, which I think they can? He might be a beneficiary of that. I like Ibuka a lot. I've been drafting a lot of him.
You get him so late too,
Yeah.
So he's such a stud. Offense that throws the football a ton. It would end around 9. That's crazy.
Yeah, I'll take it, right? So I've got a lot of him. And then, like I said, I wanted to get more Tyler Warren. Marvin Mims is the ultimate like boomer bust guy. I think we talked about it. I think he's going to be kind of a headache this year, but he's the boomer bust, like deep play threat. Ray Davis, I love Ray Davis, the player. I think if James Cook gets hurt, Ray Davis could be in for a much bigger role. And then, Tua, just a second stacking piece with Achon and Waddle. And then just kind of filling out the rest of the draft here. Romeo Dobbs, pretty good wide receiver. Think he'll have spike weeks. Not going to be super dependable. But, I can't stop clicking Rico Dowdle's name. I probably need to diversify a little bit.
I'm right there with you. Chiego Okonkwo, I think, is another guy that's probably going too late. And he's a popular name in DFS circles in terms of like burning people. He finally looked like he was putting it together toward the end of last season. You got Cam Ward coming in. He's a tight end, TE1. Yeah. We know that rookie quarterbacks like going to their safety valve tight ends. I think he could have a pretty big season. I really like that pick that late.
Yeah, I've been picking his name a good amount just because after Ridley, it's just a bunch of guys. So I feel like the target there could be there for him,
I like it.
So, but yeah, that's it for me. And then let's look at Darth here. And I think that's pretty, so you're still there. Tight ends for rookies are always valuable. So the easy pick is David Montgomery. I think the upside case is, Aaron Jones gets hurt and Jordan Mason ends up being a league winner. What do you think, Bobby?
Yeah, give me Monty. I know it's not as appealing because Gibbs is there, but Monty is going to score touchdowns. Just what's going to happen.
It's not a sexy pick, but you're going to love it when he scores the tutties on Sundays.
Yep, exactly. And he will.
For sure. All right. Let's go through Darths here and then and close this out. 3 stud wide receivers to start. And then Amarian, Kenneth Walker. What are your thoughts on Amarian?
I'm still trying to get a read on all the rookie running backs. Yeah. I feel like I'm down on all of them, maybe more than I should be at this point. But I don't know. I don't have as much Hampton as I should. I feel like of the rookie backs, he's probably the guy to have. But I'm still not. I'm not sold. I'm not sold that he should go where he's going right now.
Fair, yeah.
Especially in a half-point PPR.
Yeah, because I can't think of his name right now, but the Chargers offensive coordinator has a history of kind of splitting the running backs. So Najee Harris, I think, isn't really going away as much as everyone wants him to, unless Omarion just comes in and just blows everyone's doors off, which is possible, but probably unlikely to start the year.
Yep.
Okay. And then Kenneth Walker, Debo, Aaron Jones, TJ Hawkinson. So right away got a stack right there, back-to-back anyway. Double-tapped Aaron Jones and TJ Hawkinson.
I love Hawk. Hawk has a potential to be top 5 or 6 tight end, I think, this season, as long as he can stay healthy. Always that asterisk.
Yes, you got that right. Pittman, Jaden Higgins. No, he didn't get Nico. I did. Ramondre, CJ Stroud. So a stacked CJ Stroud there with Higgins, Bryce Young, Jatavian Sanders. So some late stacks for sure. Neighbors, London, Garrett Wilson. Doesn't look like any of those 3s were stacked, but what I like about that is, I think, uniqueness in itself. Like his top 3 wide receivers just went unstacked.
Yeah, that's interesting. Man, these late like QB picks, the lineups look really appealing. So I'm gonna look into that a little bit more too. I kind of like it.
Definitely. And Debo by himself as well. So
I'm buying on Debo. I'm high on him. I'm gonna get burned so bad, but I feel like he's the guy that the Commanders were missing last season. He's the missing piece. He's a guy that can come out of the backfield a little bit. You got T-Mac, who's a deep guy. Debo can do it all, though. I think he's kind of like the Swiss Army knife that's going to take that team to the next level. So I'm intrigued.
If it was just an ammonia last year, there was a reason why he was playing bad, and maybe he just needed that change of scenery and, a team that needs more weapons outside of McLaurin. Yeah, I think he could have a big year for sure if he returns to the Debo that we remember before the ammonia.
Right.
Yeah. Well, I think that's going to do it, Bobby. Thanks for joining, man. This was fun.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. I feel like I could ask you questions for the next 5 hours. So we'll have to do it again soon. But this is great. Thanks for having me on. Again, kudos to the DFSA guys in the chat, putting together great drafts per usual. Yeah, good times, man. cannot come soon enough. Football season can't be here soon enough.
I mean, yeah, I would like for it to not come super fast now that I'm like trying to get in all these drafts, but at the same time, like I just know it's just around the corner once July hits, so it's exciting. And then it's just like a blink of an eye, and it's just like all over. So
I know that's the worst part. I know sometimes the anticipation is just as well. For a Bears fan, oftentimes the anticipation is even better than the actual
best part.
season. So
yeah.
It's gonna be good stuff, though.
Oh, believe me, I've had some of those. I mean, Broncos thought we were going to be good when we got Russell Wilson, and then that ended up being the exact opposite. So, trust me, I know how that goes.
Hey, we're both on the way up. This feels like a good time to be a Bronco and Bears fan. So let's make it happen.
Yeah, no doubt. I agree with that. Well, let's definitely do this again. I'm actually. The next 2 weeks, I'm going to be in Europe, so I'm going to be out, but we will be returning on the 22nd of July. So keep an eye out for that. And of course, we got a lot more content coming on the channel. If you like this content, let us know. Comment in, the comments. Who are you really high on? Who are you fading? What contests you like the most on Underdog? Because there's so many, of course. But make sure you subscribe so you don't miss when we go live. I know we got Geek doing Draftapalooza Monday, Wednesday, Friday. So we still got a lot more best ball content coming on the channel.
Good stuff, man. Good stuff as always.
Absolutely, Bobby. Thanks for joining me, and we'll see you guys next time.